Notification. Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning into a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a magnificent guest with us today, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than the legendary brother, Freeway Rick Ross. How are you doing today, sir?
Brother, doing well. How you?
I'm doing excellent, sir. And I want to thank you, first of all, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. This has been an honor. We studied your career, studied your life, and now to speak with you, this means a lot to us. The first question that we have for you today, sir, is what advice would you give to the young generation about learning from some of the trials that you went through in life to try to, avoid that?
Well, a wise teacher once told me that it's better to learn from somebody else's experience than to have to go out and learn from your own experiences. So if they can look at my life and analyze my mistakes as well as my trumpets, then their life would be a lot easier. A lot of times, when I was coming up, we really didn't have both sides of the coin. We really only had the side that we saw, and that was a life of crime. And even though in most Black communities, the first entrepreneur that we meet is usually a drug dealer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's only natural that we're drawn to those avenues.
Absolutely. Now, in your earlier days, you were coming up. You were, if not the first, but one of the first people to ever, be independent and have your own operation. What was that like being so young and able to, affect so many lives and bring money to the community?
Well, it felt great, to go from not being able to buy gas when gas was 25 cents to now being able to pull in the gas station and fill every car up in the gas line. So those are the feelings that we all want. We just have to find viable and means of doing that without hurting others.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, I wanted to ask you about organizations, right? So one of the first things that you started was the Freeway Boys. How did you go about choosing, who would be with you, and like what was the process, and like trying to find out who you could trust
Well,
to be with
well,
you?
we grew up together.
Okay.
These are like the first friends that I met when my mom moved to South Central Los Angeles. I had a little thing about the way I ran my organization. I didn't really need to bring in outside people because I learned how to grow my own clientele. Kind of like what I'm doing with the weed business. I'll grow my own clientele. I'll teach my people how to sell the product and how to be. Once I figured out how to make $100,000, I said, you know what? I can show my friends how to do the same thing,
Mm.
and that's basically the rope that I took, and that's kind of what I do right now. Once I learn something, I don't mind sharing it with other people. Um, there was a book I read when I was in prison, and it said one of the best ways to learn something was by teaching somebody else how to do it. So um, I kind of have a knack of I kind of get a kick out of teaching people how to grow their business, how to become successful, and then that way it kind of gives me a bragging right where I could say, you know what, I helped them.
Mm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wonderful. My sister Miriam says, "Peace, man. Peace, Mimi. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. Can't wait to show love to our brother Freeway Rick Ross, and let's everyone continue to learn from his story. Please put in the comments, any questions that you have for him, and let us know what city you're watching. I wanted to ask you about a lot of people talk about one side of it, the drug game or what happened in the early '80s. But what about? I was looking at one of your doing some research with you, and I learned about a man named Tomar, the sheriff, and some of
Yes.
the things that you had to go through with people who were apparently, I mean, it's supposed to be on the good side of it, but they, he tortured people and caused a lot of did a lot of illegal things to you as well. How did you handle seeing people who had a badge on, do dirty stuff to you?
It was crazy. I never thought that cops would do the kind of things that they were doing. Lying on the witness stand, planting drugs, shooting at you when you were innocent. I mean, didn't have a gun or you wasn't even doing anything. So those things were kind of new to me and took me off guard because I always believed that a cop should be straight up and down. Don't don't. Can you turn that down, boy? Please, thank you. Don't have an opinion one way or the other. Their job is just to go out and basically do their job. Not become attached to what they're doing to the point that it makes them cross the lines.
Perfect. Yes, sir. All right. Well, I wanted to ask you, a lot of people ask me about being addicted to a lifestyle when we go into these communities and we're trying to speak to young people. How were you able to battle? All of us have that, just like the flashiness, the showing off. How are you able to balance that? And if so, what advice would you give to the younger generations about, trying not to be addicted to the lifestyle?
Well, at first, I wanted to be flashy, and then I learned that if you're not flashy, you will last longer. We all like shiny things. I'm no different. But I learned that sometimes you have to put the shiny things off to later on in life, and then they'll last you longer because one of the reasons that I was able to sell drugs for 8, almost 9 years was because they couldn't identify me. They didn't know what I looked like because I didn't have the normal, typical drug dealer makeup. I wasn't dressed in the fancy clothes. I didn't wear the jewelry, and I didn't drive the big cars. So that kind of threw law enforcement off.
Yes, sir. Okay. I also saw that you said you were very influenced by the movie Superfly, and that helped you wanted to get into the game and have a great escape out of life once you were finished. What advice do you give to young people who just want to who don't see themselves making past 25 as far as longevity, trying to give advice to people saying, hey, it's a way for you to make it once it's over,
Well, we have to be careful with how we think because, what we think, we have a tendency to become. I was watching the Tupac documentary a couple days ago, and he said some really profound stuff in that documentary. He said, I'm just a rapper. I'm just an actor. Why are all these things happening to me? And what I believe he was saying and what actually happened was that he took the life from the rap game that he was rapping about and he started to live that same lifestyle on the streets. And when you start to live like that, you start to bring the things that Tupac was talking about he didn't want to happen to him. You start to bring those things to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Brother Freeway, we can't. Okay, there we go. So your
I got it.
Yes,
My
sir.
bad.
No problem. I wanted to ask you about the early days of rolling with the Hoovers and things of that nature. What was that like being in on the ground floor with that and seeing Tukey Williams or being inspired by them? What was that like?
Well, the first time I ever saw the Crips, I was about 12 years old, 11 years old, going on 12. And when I saw so many black men together, dressed alike and in uniform, it made me want to be a part of it. At that time, I didn't know what they stood for, what they was doing, and none of that. I just saw the camaraderie, and I wanted to be a part of that camaraderie. And lucky for me, though, my mom was really strict, and she wasn't going for it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, a lot of people who deal in different businesses come with violence first.
You can turn it off, though, Bo. Say that again.
Yes, sir. A lot of people deal with violence first, and you seem to be someone who was more of a thinking aspect. You didn't go with the guns blazing initially. What made you want to approach it with more of a thinking aspect as opposed to just shoot them up, shoot all your enemies up type situation?
Well, when I went into the game, the first thing I said is that I didn't want to hurt anybody unless in my life was threatened or they threatened somebody that was close to me. That was my vow that I made when I got into the game because, uh, um, I kind of understood that in the game it's kind of ruthless and kind of violent. So I was hoping that I never had to resort to any of that stuff,
Mm.
and I
Yes,
didn't.
sir. Wonderful. Okay, go ahead. And thank you, Brother Nelson Ramos, for watching. Everybody who's showing love all around the world. I wanted to ask you about being sentenced. You were sentenced to life, correct?
Life without the possibility of parole.
Yes, sir. What was that like when you had to hear that?
It was heartbreaking. For one, my mom was in court. She broke down. Uh, but the fact that even though I had prepared myself to receive a life sentence, you can never really totally understand it until it actually happens to you.
Mm.
The same way when even though I heard on the radio that the appeal court had reversed my case, it didn't really hit me until after I went to court and the judge took the life sentence off of me. And even then, uh, you really get the full effect when you walk outside that penitentiary door.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, speaking of that, a lot of people, once they come out of, the system, my father went to jail, many people, family members and people we know, and then they do, greater things in life. What about love? Like, what was like, did you look for love? What was that like trying to like date again and, get in relationships again once you were out of prison?
Um, I had loves while I was in jail. Women came,
Okay.
they would come and being a man, they would start to write letters and I would write them back and we talk on the phone and love is something that comes really easy.
Mm, mm.
I love a lot, so um, I had a bunch of those, come and go. They would be there for a couple months, when they break up with their boyfriend or somebody, and they would hit you, and then you start to talk to them. So I had a lot of that while I was gone.
Wonderful. Yes, sir. Amazing. All right. And thank you, Sister Deborah, for watching it. And you're amazing as well. Brother Freeway Rick Ross, we got a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors, and we're coming right back to a few more of our questions. Thank you very much for being patient with us. And he's giving us some amazing information as well as inspiration. Thanks to all the people watching all around the world. Please let us know your questions for Freeway Rick Ross.
Please reach out to him if you need any of those services. Sister Miriam's ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book, and now Spanish book, all three available on Amazon.com. Sister Naima's Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country, right here in the studios of Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Henry Carter's King Henry Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad's COVID-19 Disinfected Cleaning Services, out of Chicago. Student Minister Sharif Muhammad's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, available on adulsharif.com. And lastly, Brother Joshua Muhammad's book, Cleopatra, as well as No Father, No Excuse, both available on Amazon.
Perfect. All right. And lastly, we have Sherry Muhammad with Asiatic Minds. Thank you very much. Please enroll your children in Asiatic Minds. She teaches STEM virtually to young kings and queens all around the world. Please enroll your child in AsiaticMinds.com. They have a great faculty and staff. Okay, yes, sir. Well, speaking of the name Muhammad, which I have, you been to many of the Muslim conventions, Savior's Day, and spoken in workshops. When did you first have an encounter with, members of the Nation of Islam or people under Minister Farrakhan?
When I went to prison,
Mm, mm.
yeah, there was a guy by the name of Kenny Muhammad who was the student minister at FCI Phoenix, and me and him we were pretty tight. We'd be on the weight pile together, and he would be talking to me about the Nation of Islam, and I'd always been taught. My mom was a Christian, so she always taught us to stay away from the Muslims.
Yes, sir.
You know, they used to have a store in the neighborhood. It was a Muslim store, and we would go there sometimes, but uh, my mom didn't really like going to the Muslim stores. Um, but when I got to Phoenix, you know, Kenny was talking to me and talking to me, and he finally got me to go to one of the services, and I heard Minister Farrakhan speak, and it was like he was speaking to me.
Mm, mm. Yes, sir. Okay, that's powerful. Okay. And then so now that once you've gotten out, so this is how things work. So I didn't know who you were. I learned through you through music. So of course your name is Freeway, and then there's of course Rick Ross, artists who named themselves
Well,
after you.
my name is Rick Ross.
Okay, yes, sir.
My mom named me Rick Ross.
Okay, yes, sir.
People threw the freeway on there later on in life, but yeah.
Yes, sir. So when you see people who are inspired by your story and they name themselves after you, or like Freeway or Rick Ross or whatever other people, and you have young people who want to take pictures with you and know you, how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel good, you know, for one thing, you know, with a lot of us, any kind of success is motivating for us, you know, to
Mm,
let us know that we can do it. You know, when I started selling drugs, I knew absolutely nothing about drugs. I never saw weed, never saw cocaine, I never drunk a beer, no alcohol. I was an athlete,
mm,
or trying to be an athlete. So when I got started in the drug business, I started from a novice point of view. So I never thought that I could have gotten as big when I first started. And I didn't want to be big in the dope business when I first started. My goal was to make about $5,000 so I can get me some wheels for my car and paint my car, and that was the bulk of my ambitions at that time.
mm.
Um, but as you know, when you get some money, money buys knowledge. And as I started to have money, I was able to be exposed to more things, and my vision got bigger.
Yes, sir. And at one point, I saw where you were making up to like 200,000 a day.
Profit. Yeah, I
Mm,
used to go through some days. You know, I've had days that I went through $3 million in one day.
mm.
So my profit out of that probably was about 600, maybe 500, somewhere in that range.
Yes, sir. All right, man. That's incredible. All right. So now, of course, I know that people often ask you, but I had to ask you because we watched, Snowfall, and they said it was based off of your life. Have you ever seen the show? And is it like
I watched
really,
it.
yes, sir.
I
And
watched it.
is it based?
It's loosely
Okay.
based.
Okay.
I don't think that they could tell my true story uh on TV or at the movies, because it would give people a total different concept of what a drug dealer is,
Mm,
or what a black drug dealer is, because they put these stereotypes on TV to make us look like buffoons. You know, I think the guy on Snowfall was a buffoon, the way
mm.
he handled it. I mean, yeah, he made a lot of money, but uh, he did a lot of buffoonery. You know, the show had a lot of buffoonery in it, and my business was anything but that. I think the people who've been helping me with my story, they saying that my story is going to be a love story.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, about a bunch of young guys who grew up together. We played uh, football together. We rode bikes together. We skated together, and we also sold dope together.
Mm. Yes,
But
sir.
all of my guys, none of them wanted to get into the dope game when I first got started. They all was totally against it. But after they started to see um, the benefits of it, it eventually broke down their wheel. Um, Almost like with those crooked cops. You know, I don't think those cops started out crooked. You know, I think that they probably started out to do the right thing, but money can corrupt people who don't know how to get it the right way. So if you can't get money the right way, you know, it's by any means necessary. You're gonna feed your kids. You're gonna make sure that your family eat. So we talking about these cops probably were making 50, $60,000 a year back in the days, but they were able to be corrupted by the money.
Mm, mm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And once you got out of prison, did you ever see any of the cops and or your
Yeah,
enemies?
we did it. We did an interview. I interviewed him on my documentary, Freeway
Oh,
Cracking the System.
okay,
He's on
okay.
there talking about how he got turned out, how he took his first bag of money, and how once you take the money, you're a dirty cop. You can never go back to being clean again. If your listeners didn't see it, they definitely should go and check out Freeway Cracking the System. Was nominated for an Emmy Award.
Yes, sir.
And they'll see where Snowfall came from.
Excellent. And from what you said, are you saying that there's something you're working on a new project, correct?
I'm working on a motion picture right now. I also got a new documentary coming out with VH1. They haven't given us a date yet, but it's in the can, I believe. That's coming out as well.
Go ahead, brother.
I got a big birthday party coming up in January too. I'm also opening up a dispensary here in Los Angeles, a
Okay,
marijuana
okay.
dispensary. I won a license, so I'll open in December, and my grand opening will be January the 26th.
On the 26th, and it's gonna be in LA.
It's gonna be in LA. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we wish you nothing but the best in all your entrepreneurial endeavors. Please continue to keep being a great example of redemption and motivation to people.
Oh man, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. With this dispensary, and I'm really gonna be dedicating mine to helping the hood. The money will be going toward helping the hood, because the money that I'll be making, I don't really need that money for myself. But I said, you know what? If somebody's gonna be in my hood selling it, it might as well be me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I wanted to ask you, what type of music do you enjoy listening to?
I usually listen to soft rock. The Wave is my favorite radio station that I listen to.
Okay.
And on my Apple thing that I do, I don't know how to, my manager, they set that stuff up. Echo set it up, but I listen to old 70s and 80s R&B, Smokey Robinson, stuff like that there.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Oh yeah, and don't forget, tell everybody they can go get my book, The Untold Autobiography by Rick Ross, and also 21 Keys to Success by Rick Ross and Cody Crutcher. Both of those you can get off my website. Don't go to Amazon. My website is freewayRickyRoss.com. Don't go to Jeff Bezos. He don't need your money. I do.
Yes, sir. Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. FreewayRickyRoss.com. And we definitely want to get it, because I've learned some of the keys from some of your interviews. I've learned some of them. So I got to get the book as well. We have to get the book as well. Make sure we all support. We got one last question for you, sir. What would you like your legacy to be?
That I was a great man that cared about his people. That's it. I want my grandkids, when people come up and tell them that their grandfather was a drug dealer, they can say, oh, he only did that for 8 years. That was a small part of his life. He did a lot of other stuff too.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Don't just talk about the 8 years, talk about all the other stuff that he did. So I got some great plans. I'm going to say this before I get off. I was in jail one day, and somebody slid the USA Today newspaper under my door, and it said that Black people make $1.2 trillion a year. And I said, what would happen if we were able to channel that 1.2 trillion a year? What would happen? So I said, I want to be the person that channeled that money. I'm gone.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, brother.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's been my honor. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Thank you all for watching.